When we first got the house, the basement was very stylish. And when I say stylish, I mean blue cheese thinking carpets, ultra modern looking walnut panels, super spiky, pokey popcorn ceiling. It really came with the whole shebang. But for me, that was a problem because I needed to build a basement office as soon as possible. So this story all started back in 2020 when we bought the house. COVID hit and I had to work from home, so I needed this office ASAP. What I didn't know is that this project would actually snowball into a full-blown basement project. Let's just say the demolition is the easy part. It's also the step that will tell you how much you'll have to spend. The more you break, the more you'll have to renovate. Yes. I got some more for you. While I was cleaning up and getting the floor ready, I noticed the floor had a bit of a dip in some areas. So I used a 6-foot level to investigate. My findings were a little intimidating. Some sections had a 1/4 inch dip, and in some other areas I had a 1-inch dip. I used the level to mark out all the lines on the wall and on the floor so I knew exactly what to fill. The last thing I wanted to do was mix 10 bags and go over the level line and having to deal with grinding the cement back down. So slowly but surely raising the floor until I got to the finished level line.
We still have a gap. Oof, yeah. Let's go put in another bag.
Finding the center true line to be your reference isn't too hard to find if your house is perfect, but it's probably not. So I started by measuring from this wall here, then this wall, and seeing if everything was parallel. To my surprise, they were not. Then I marked a line and checked in the hallway. I ended up using more of the hallway wall as reference because that would be an easy way to tell this floor wasn't straight. For those of you that are curious, this is white oak engineered hardwood floor. If I bought this brand new, it would have cost me an arm and a leg, but I got a great deal on Marketplace. The way I look at this when I do DIY stuff, if I'm gonna save thousands of dollars doing it myself, I might as well try and do it the best way possible using the best quality materials. The first row is the most important because any mistake you do here would be passed on to your entire project. I applied the glue using a 3mm trowel and made sure it was perfectly straight to my line. I didn't want to mess up my line, so I let it dry overnight and then started fresh the next day. Something that took me 4 years to realize was I needed to change my t-shirt size. I looked like I was wearing a crop top. All these boards I'm moving back are boards I pre-cut, and I highly recommend doing this, especially if you're alone. Sometimes it could be a bit of a Tetris game, so take your time here and plan out your seams. I would pre-cut around 4 to 5 rows at a time, and then move on to installing them. I didn't want to install them in a brick pattern, in a staircase pattern, or have the seams too close to each other. One thing that blows my mind looking at this footage 4 years later is that I did all of this without really having many tools. At the time, I only had a table saw, a drill, a hammer, and a sander. My dad lent me his vacuum for the month, and I still have it to this day. Oh, and by the way, I made sure to vacuum the floor really well before the installation. I also got rid of all those staples from the old carpet, and if I heard any squeaks in the plywood, I added some screws. This really is the last chance you get to fix that. After gluing down 6 to 8 rows, I would put weights to push down on the floor. In my case, I used thick plywood shelves and placed them perpendicular to the floor to distribute the weight evenly. And then I added some weights on top of those. This floor is gonna be all this. The whole entrance, that little bedroom, and the whole hallway. This beautiful white oak flooring. I chose to glue down my flooring for a couple of reasons. First, I got a great deal and it came with 4 big jugs of glue. Second, the glue becomes like a rubber and absorbs impact. I like the idea of making the floor sound more solid. Third, I didn't own a nail gun at the time and gluing was simpler and required no fancy tools. And lastly, a few areas I fixed had about 1 inch of leveling cement, so I'm happy I chose the glue down method. I'm very happy I insulated the ceiling with Rockwool insulation. I immediately noticed a big difference with the kids jumping right over my head. At this point, I really wanted to move my office stuff downstairs, but I still had big plans that were gonna make big dust clouds. Don't ask me why I was painting the brick black. I was experimenting. Once I realized that what I wanted to paint black was actually the stove, not the brick, I moved on to that. I had to also figure out how to do stucco, as this was my first time doing it. As you can see here, I'm just trying to get a feel for it. It kind of wants to fall off your plaster holder, but you just have to find the right angle to keep it on there as you're pushing it. When it comes to working corners, the best way I found is to use a piece of wood to help keep the stucco from wanting to fall off. I think I waited about 45 minutes before smoothing out the stucco. The best way to check this is with your finger. Start by rubbing gently the stucco and then try to push your finger into it. If it goes in, you know she's ready. What in the world am I reading? If you have a big surface to do, make sure that you take a few breaks and mist water on it, because you don't want it to cure and harden before you get a chance to smooth it out. I did 3 bags in one night with hopes of finishing it all, but I actually ran out of stucco and all the shops were closed at this point, so I had to wait until the next day to get another bag. But I was lucky enough to have my little helper join me. I also created a super nice mantel that uses the exact same wood as the flooring to tie it all together. I'll show you that part in a few minutes. In the living room, I also soundproofed the ceiling. And before you safety inspectors go to the comments to tell me I gotta wear glasses, I know. Guys, wear glasses, wear a mask, wear some gloves. This thing's itchy. I sketched up a diagram for the lighting to figure out the spacing. I passed one cable for the living room lights and another for the hallway lights. Now comes the hard part. Installing drywall is a real struggle. Not as annoying as my crop top, but pretty close. When applying plaster over your head, make sure to keep your mouth closed, unless you want to have a snack. I didn't own a hole saw to make the holes for the lights, so I found this really cool trick that only takes 5 hours per hole. Thank goodness I only had to do this 15 times. After 75 days since I started this project, I finally moved my office to the basement. Hell yeah! Except there was one problem. My basement stayed like this for the next 8 months. I really wanted to finish it, but as a DIYer who literally could not finish one thing before starting another one, I had 3 other projects in mind as summer was around the corner. I built a deck, I redid my roof, and third, I sanded and painted every board of siding around the house. Anyways, where were we? Ah yes, the basement. I glued down a few more rows until I got to the hallway, but I hit a roadblock. I had to figure out what I wanted to do with the tiles. So I went to a tile shop and bought these 2 tiles so I could visualize it better at home. I like this one best. The fireplace was exactly 8 feet wide, so I'd be able to put 4 tiles side by side without a single cut. I had to fix the floor level with leveling cement. Thank goodness I only had to do this 2 times. I placed the tiles temporarily because I wanted to finish installing the wood floor before laying the tiles. I had to fix the floor level with leveling cement. Thank goodness I only had to do this 3 times. And if at this point you thought I was going to keep working on the floor, you'd be wrong, because I had enough of these filthy stairs. I thought it'd be a light sand and it'd be done, but it was the complete opposite. I removed each tread to sand it in the garage. I sanded each one for an hour and applied 5 coats of a matte clear finish. I painted the risers and stringers with primer first and then white paint. Finally, I could move on to the mantel. I tried to reuse the old mantel, but it just didn't work out. I cut a few flooring boards on the table saw and glued them all up, creating a long hollow box. I installed the old mantel with shims under it so the new mantel would slide right in. Now let's get back to the flooring and finish that up. I had to fix the floor level with leveling cement. Thank goodness I only had to do this 4 times. I tried doing tiles for the first time, but I failed. So I removed it and I tried again. Finally, all the flooring was done. I think I'm gonna show my wife. Let's go get the wife and see what she thinks. Fiona!
Oh, wow. I thought you said it was finished.
If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing so I can make more of these videos. If you want to see another massive project that took me all summer to build, click on this video.